listeners and spectators, so let's groove with the smooth operator. Just sound so smooth. Just sound so smooth.
Good people, good people. We are back in business. It is Saturday, June 2nd. And this is your host, Stephen James, and your show, The Hour of Power. And today I have my man, LL Cool Joe in the hizzy. Yep. Joe, come say something to the good people who know and love you.
Well, we're at a different location this time.
That's right.
But how's everybody doing? Joe Swift in the building.
That's right.
So setting up. Very nice.
Right. Thank you, Joe. Letting the people know what's up. So y'all check in. Let me know that you're out there. I see Daisy Estrella, my star from La República Dominicana. She's in the house. Dominican Republic checking in. Deborah Cobbs. Hi, Deborah. Nice to see you. Raymond Holly from Puerto Plata, Dominican Republic checking in by way of Villa Paraíso. Say hello to Mr. Lucky for Ray, Big Ray, okay? We got Kelly Eddington joining us. Thank you, Kelly. Kel's in the hizzy. And this is Stephen James, of course, coming to you live and direct from New York City, NYC, the place to be when you want to see me. And I'm broadcasting live from my law offices today. We're at 87-66 Sutphin Boulevard. That's here in Jamaica, Queens, New York. And come by and see us. And by the way, today, we're not going to just talk about issues that are in the news only. If any of you have, you forget I'm an attorney. So if any of you have legal questions or answers or legal issues that you're going through and you'd like to discuss them here, feel free. You can call us at, Joe, what you do with my number?
Oh, sorry. On the first page.
Oh, here it is. You can give us a call because we have it set up for live calls too. 646-419-5222. That means you too, Raymond Holly. 646-419-5222. Have your voice be heard anywhere where the internet is had, which means not China, but we are heard, okay? We are heard around the world. This is an international broadcast with the conversation about you, for you, and we're not going to be talking about Donald Trump, Stormy Daniels, the Mueller investigation, Rudy Giuliani. If you want to get that, you got to go to any of the thousands of places that are running those same 2 or 3 stories every day, all day. No, we're talking about things that are of import to you, things that are on your mind and things that you can benefit from. This is where you get the nourishment for your heart and your body and your mind, right here in your hour of power with your host, Stephen G. James. And that's every Saturday from 12 to 3 p.m. We're going to chop it up together as a family. Who else is checking in? Angela Robinson. Hi, Ange. Good afternoon. Miguel Villario from the Dominican Republic. Joe Swift. He joins us as well. So y'all keep checking in. Let me know. And if anyone has questions or answers, this is family time. So chop it up with me, okay? Your host, Attorney Stephen G. James. Last week, we spoke about gator babies in Florida. Now, I know Raymond Holly in particular, he's from the Tampa, Florida area. From Virginia originally, but lived in Tampa, Florida for a long time. So, Ray, if you have anything that you can add to that conversation, please do. I know you and I, when I was in the Dominican Republic last time, we talked about it a lot. So I definitely would like to hear more about that, more details. The family needs to hear. We have thousands of people tuning in around the country and around the world, and many people don't know about this. So we try to give that knowledge, that info that you can't just get anywhere. We try to give that knowledge and info that they're not talking about on CNN, what are those things? MSNBC and all those. Fox. Oh, definitely Fox is not talking about it. Okay, they definitely are not talking about what we talk about. So I want us to get that knowledge that you get when you don't have to go to college. That stuff that's going to brighten your life and give you something that you can pass on that's useful to you. Okay, so anyone who has any information on that can add in. Joe, you have your computer?
No, that's
you didn't bring it today? Well, I need you to look up the Mississippi Punch Bowl. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the Niobium Holocaust. Okay. Now, I want to ask you out there, has anybody ever heard of the Namibian Holocaust? Let's start with that. Joe, can we get the feed going? I'm not getting any of the questions and stuff coming up. Then while Joe's working on getting the feed and you're getting your comments up, the Namibian Holocaust occurred between 1904 and 1910, although I argue that it didn't end in 1910, it went on. And that was the precursor, the practice run, if you will, for the Holocaust that we've all heard about, and that is the Jewish Holocaust that occurred in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. But the Namibian Holocaust was by the Second Reich, and the Jewish Holocaust was perpetrated by the Third Reich. But when the Namibian Holocaust occurred, to this day, you don't hear anything about it. Nobody talks about it. I want you good people to look it up and join in. Tell me what you find when you look up Namibian Holocaust or the takeover of Namibia, which is a country in Africa, by Nazis in 1904. They were welcomed to that country and they betrayed the people. They killed and enslaved the men and women and raped and molested many of the children and the women. It was a horrible experience that the people of Namibia had when they encountered these savages. So look it up, people, and let's talk about it. Oh, did anyone, on another note, speaking of Africa, see the brother from Mali climb that building to save that French baby in Paris? Joe, did you hear about that?
Was climbing the balcony?
Yeah, he was climbing the balconies.
I didn't hear the story,
he did it in about 10 seconds from ground level, from seeing his baby dangling from the balcony on the 4th floor of a high-rise building in Paris, France, because, as it turned out, the father of this child had decided to leave the child in the home and go out gallivanting, drinking with friends. And somehow that child made its way to the balcony and was dangling over the balcony when this brother from Mali saw this baby and immediately took action. While other people were frozen in fear and in fright, he took action. His instincts kicked in, and he scaled the walls and the balconies of that building until he reached that child, and he brought that child to safety. And he was so praised, so acknowledged and appreciated that the president of France gave him immediate French citizenship. Immediately. Now, contrast that to here in the United States when that brother saved all those lives in that Waffle House. I believe it was in Atlanta about 3 weeks ago, in the Waffle House. And there was a gunman who walked in there and had opened fire. And this brother immediately, again, while others were frozen in fear, he immediately jumped to the rescue, wrestled the gun away from the gunman. He was injured. He was shot in the hand and had some other burns and stuff from grabbing the nozzle of this. I think it was
it was in Nashville, Tennessee.
It was in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. Nashville, Tennessee. But he leapt to action while others were frozen in fear and waiting to be gunned down by this maniac. He attacked him, wrestled the gun away, and saved all those lives. And it was a lot of media that covered that brother, called him a hero, etc. Well, contrast what happened in Paris, France, where the president acknowledged and immediately gave this man citizenship without any question. Can't hear me?
That's good. She can hear you now.
Can you hear me now, Ann? We have Ann Gonzalez checking in from Canada.
I hear you.
You can hear me on your phone?
Yeah.
She's saying she can't. Let's see how we're coming through on yours. And can you hear me now? Because I take all these comments very seriously. So we don't understand why you can't hear us. There's been nothing adjusted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yep.
Let's see how we're coming through on yours. And we're getting through loud and clear. Tell me if you can hear me now or if there's something with your apparatus. Can everyone else hear me? I see, Mr. Lucky checking in from the Dominican Republic as well. Luckster, what up? How are you? Chime in. Can you hear me out there in Dominican Republic, Lucky? Because we have Ann Gonzalez Corbett, a dear friend from high school, who is checking in from Canada. I believe she's in Canada. I know she lives in Canada, but I don't know if Ann is traveling. She is a world traveler. She could be anywhere on the planet at this point. But Ann, if you're in Canada, hello from Canada, to Canada from New York. Joyce Farams Taylor joining us. Can everyone hear me clearly? Okay, I was talking about Donald Trump and the fact that he never even acknowledged the so-called hero in Nashville, Tennessee, who saved all those lives in the face of that shooter. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to hear your views. Why do you think he didn't even acknowledge the guy? While other people were lauding him and praising him as a hero, Donald Trump has yet to make a comment or statement, and it looks like he's not, about this gentleman who saved all those people here in America. Where in France, when this gentleman climbed and scaled that building and saved that baby dangling from a balcony, and that any second could have let go or slipped and been killed 4 stories up, this man leapt to action, scaled those balconies, scaled that building, and got to that child and saved that child's life. He was granted immediate citizenship. In fact, the citizenship was granted so quickly that it was granted before the story even broke. How's that for quick state action in acknowledging someone's heroism? And on the other hand, we have Donald Trump, who has yet 3 weeks later, Joe, to even acknowledge that this guy even exists and acknowledge anything that he's done. What are your thoughts? Am I talking to myself? Can you guys hear me? Ann Gonzalez, love you. Keep doing your good work. We'll tune in next week. Sound, unfortunately, not coming through. Shares from Canada. Oh, wow.
Is that the same person?
Yeah, same person. Can anyone else check in and tell me if you guys are having a problem hearing? Ann Gonzalez, Corbett is saying that she's having a problem hearing. She's checking out because she's just able to see my pretty face and my lips moving, but she can't hear the wisdom, Julie, the pearls that I'm dropping on you guys. So if you can't hear me, if anyone else is having a problem hearing, please let me know. Steve Lucky in La República Dominicana, can you hear me? Ray Holly, can you hear me? Isabel, can you hear? Tú puedes escucharme. I need to know if everyone's having the same problem that Ann Gonzalez Corbett in Canada is having. And I appreciate you. Thank you so much, dear. You know, I've known Ann for over 45 years. Praise God. Ann Gonzalez says, love you. Keep doing your good work. We'll tune in next week. Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah, I was able to hear. This was the Mississippi Punch Bowl you were talking?
Yeah, I want somebody to, let's get a story up so I can read it to the good people. Love you. Keep up the good work. We'll tune in next week. Melissa Musarelli just joined us. Hi, Millie. How are you? Thank you for joining. Can everyone hear me? Will somebody say yes or no? No one's commenting as to whether or not they can hear me. The only one who's commenting is someone who said they cannot hear me. But if you guys can hear me, somebody let me know. Somebody, anybody, everybody scream. Oh, that's for my DJ days. Yo, check in again. I need to know if you can hear me because I'm getting concerned that I'm talking to people and they can't hear me. I'm going to keep talking, but I want to know that you guys can hear me. If you can't, this is not good. Quentin Blakes has just checked in. Hi, Quinn. How are you, brother? He's checking in from Queens, New York. Hello, Melissa. How are you? Thank you. Finally, loud and clear. Thank you, Melissa. Somebody finally let me know that they can hear me. I appreciate you, Melissa. Melissa, do you have a question or an answer or something that lets me know that you want to join the international broadcast and be heard around the world? Anything of concern or interest to you? We just got finished speaking about the Melanian brother who scaled the walls in Paris, France, and saved that little child that was dangling from the building. I'm sure all of you heard about it. It happened last week, Sunday, 6 days ago. It's been all over the news. You can hear fine. So it must be her thing. So please let me know what your thoughts are on that we just got finished discussing. And I want to know if anybody got any more updates on what I brought up to your attention very briefly last week, which was the Mississippi Punch Bowl. I'm going to read a little bit of that to you guys in case you don't know about it, because you're entitled to know things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. Again, we are a worldwide international broadcast, so join the international conversation. We're heard from all points around the world. Wherever they have internet, this is where we go. Joe, let's tell them about the Mississippi Punch Bowl if they haven't done their homework.
All right. Wait for this page to.
Also, folks, I want you to also I want to also talk about with you alligator babies, what they call gator babies. Remember this? Or do you know anything about this? In Florida, the Florida Gators use this as a symbol of their team. It's supposed to symbolize an alligator eating. Although alligators don't eat this way, they grab their prey and they rip them apart and they drown them. But the point is that this is a symbol. Well, that comes from something that occurred in Florida. I believe it was central to northern Florida, called gator babies, gatoring, where those who were catching alligators for their skins would use babies, little black children, 4 months, 6 months of age, tied to a rope to lure the alligators out of their nests to come and attack the baby like bait, and they would catch the alligator that way. Now, of course, the baby in these people's minds was expendable. So, of course, the baby either drowned or was eaten or both by the alligator. But this is how they caught the alligators back in this period in the swamps in Florida. I know Ray Holly, I know Mr. Lucky, you guys know about this because we discussed this when I was in the Dominican Republic not long ago. And I want you guys to chime in and give me some more information.
I don't know if that's exactly, if that's what you
Yeah, this is it. Okay.
Black Main Street.
Where's the article, Joe?
There. All right.
Okay. History has always made concentration camps to be synonymous with the atrocities of Nazi Germany. We know that. But guess what, folks? Right here in America, and I talked about this very briefly last week, and I'm going to go into it a little more today. America has its own dirty secrets about the use of concentration camps. Right? Did you know that? And this is not 1,000 years ago either. These camps were located in Mississippi in a town called Natchez, 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 and were used to corral freed slaves during and after the American Civil War. Now, you know the Civil War was fought primarily over the issue of slavery. Some other minor issues by comparison, but the majority issue was that of slavery in the South. And of course, the North prevailed. Slavery was banned and dismantled, allegedly. Although we know that many slaves were not even, because they couldn't read and write, they didn't know that they were freed. And many of these slave owners kept the slaves on their plantations as slaves for a generation or two after the ending of slavery. But in this case, those who were freed in the state of Mississippi were being emancipated from the plantations, but their route to freedom usually took them in the vicinity of the Union Army forces. Union, those are the Northerners, right? Unhappy with the slaves being freed, the Army began recapturing the slaves and forced them back into hard labor camps. Now, remember, this is before the start of the institutionalization of the prison system. Okay? The institutionalized prison system was developed after slavery. Why? You must ask yourself. The most notorious of the several concentration camps that were established was located in Natchez, Mississippi. As the slaves made their way to freedom, the town of Natchez went from a population of 10,000 whites to 120,000 people almost overnight. In order to deal with the population influx of recently freed slaves, a concentration camp was established to essentially eradicate the problem. The men were recaptured by the Union troops and forced back into hard labor camps. The women and children were locked behind the concrete walls of the camp and simply left to die from starvation. Those who were desired by the Union soldiers were taken and raped and then killed. This was the freedom that they enjoyed. This is the option or the choice that Kanye West, that idiot, was talking about. That these people chose to be slaves. Well, this is the freedom that the Emancipation Proclamation signed by so-called President Lincoln led to for those who were freed in the southern states, in many states. But Mississippi, this is specific to this town. A researcher studying the existence of the concentration camp said, the Union Army did not allow them to remove the bodies from the camp. They just gave them shovels and said, bury them where they lay. So this was a big concentration camp where people left to starve. No, they were not put in ovens. But some of them were raped, shot, and others were starved. And otherwise, all of them were left to die. We're talking about 110,000 people. Remember, the population blew up from 10,000 to 120,000. Well, the 110,000 difference was made up by the slaves who were left to die. And those who were stronger and more resilient were made to work as slaves till they died. The camp was called the Devil's Punch Bowl because of the way the area is shaped. The camp was located at the bottom of a cavernous pit with trees located on the bluffs above. And to this day, the fruit that come up from the trees that are in this area of Mississippi are not eaten by the people who know this story because they know from which this fruit bears.
That's why the college NCAA gets the name from, the Mississippi Punch Bowl.
That's right. Tell him, Joe. Joe wants to come in. Oh, you're asking me? Yeah, that's where that term comes from. So I'd like to hear from you guys. Loud and clear. Yeah. So can everyone hear me? Did everyone hear what I just said? This is what is known as the Mississippi Punch Bowl. And this took place right here in the great United States, a place where some people try and still tell us it's the greatest country on earth. And these are the atrocities that occurred right here in the so-called greatest country on earth. Any more information on the Gator babies? Door's locked. Can anyone tell me about if you found out any more information about the Niobium Holocaust? Does anyone have any legal issues? We have Junior Tavares joining us. Hi, Junior. How are you? Good. Good. We have Musidi Hayat. Thank you for joining. I appreciate that. I hope everyone can hear us loud and clear. I hope we're coming through clearly. I'd like to ask if anyone has any legal questions regarding real estate or maybe criminal cases, wills, any landlord-tenant issues, anything like that in those areas of law, you can feel free to ask. I can't go into your personal issue very deeply, but in a very profoctorial way, we can definitely address some legal questions. Don't forget, I am your lawyer. So any comments? Come on through. Joe, do we have any comments coming in?
I didn't see anything when I last checked.
It says 6 comments.
The last one I got said the loud and clear.
And that's it. Okay, guys, get those comments going so we can have a conversation. It's not a monologue. It's a dialogue, meaning at least 2 people back and forth. So we have the lovely Pauline Swift, who just came in the house. So she'll be joining us a little bit later in the broadcast. Pauline, what are you going to be talking to the good people about today?
Roseanne Barr.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Did anybody hear about Roseanne Barr and her latest in a long line of racist, outrageous, gutter sniper, bottom feeder behavior and comments?
And why is the president on her side?
Don't give it all away yet. We're going to get on the air. That's Pauline Swift, y'all. She's in the house. She wants to know why is the president on her side and failing to say anything in contradiction to this despicable behavior. Maybe because these are his views too. Could that be it? But we'll find out later. We're going to talk with Pauline Swift. She's our guest today, and she'll be telling us her views on this and other issues. In the meantime, folk, I definitely want to hear from you, and I want to hear any issues that you would like to talk about. So here we are, and let's talk about it. Joe, can I do this like a can I flip this the other way?
Oh, tablet? Yeah.
Yeah, I can do a tablet style, and it'll still come through. Hang in there with me, good people. I'm flipping.
You want to put on here or on the table?
Uh-oh, I think I lost it.
No, you have no.
Did I lose it?
It's still there.
The screen didn't go small?
No. You want it this in tablet mode?
Yes, in tablet mode. Yes, that's it. Can you guys see me still? Did you lose me? I went tablet mode. I have what they call a what do you call this type of thing?
Chromebook.
Yeah, I call it a tablet, a lap tablet.
It's a combination.
It's a combination of a laptop and a tablet. So I call it a lap tablet, a lap tip or whatever.
I don't know if this is
A lap tip instead of a tablet.
that too.
That's good. I think that's good. Can they see us? Yeah. I think we did it, Joe. I think we're cooking with grease now. Cocinando con grasa ahora, oíste. But where's the camera? I think the camera.
The camera's down here. It's looking up at you.
Oh, okay. So am I looking into the camera now?
Yep.
So I got to look at this little dot just to see my peeps. But that's not good because I can't.
This goes.
Okay.
No one's ready.
Yes. Musidi Hayat writes Chromebook. That's what it is. It's a Chromebook, but I've doubled it, Masude, a lap tablet, a lap tip.
You need to get that patent or copyright.
Yeah, I'm going to have to copyright my own. If I can figure out how to pronounce it, I'll copyright it myself. A lap tablet. Hayat, I want you always have a provocative question for the audience. So can you ask one of your provocative questions to the audience and I can pass it on to them? Yes, there's a Chromebook. Call me Hayat. Thank you. He said I can call him Hayat. Oh, you see, you hear that? Well, clearly you can hear me loud and clear because you hear how I'm chopping up your name. And please say hello to the family, to Hassan and all the brothers over there. Please tell everyone I said hello. Hayat just had a granddaughter. So, I want to wish them well, his daughter and his son-in-law and that family very, very well. We also have Mirahijan Phillips checking in. Thank you so much for joining us, Mirahijan. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Again, we are all over the world with this broadcast, so we have names that are sometimes unfamiliar, but I respect and appreciate everyone, and I thank you for joining us. We have people joining us from around the world. We have India in the house. Sub Singh has joined us. Thank you all, good people. So anyway, does anyone have any legal questions? I don't want to sit here and just talk to myself about myself, although I can do that for the remaining time that we have before we bring on the very lovely Miss Pauline Swift from Our World magazine to talk to us about the Roseanne Barr situation. I know you have your own thing set up to talk about that. I can get out your way for a little bit, right? Praise be to God. Good people, what can you say to us today? What do you have in your mind and in your hearts that you would like us to discuss? Joe, am I looking into the camera right now? Am I looking clearly?
Yeah, being that it's down, I mean, it's awkward. So
yeah, I won't go.
Can't do anything about it.
I won't flip it around like this anymore because
it still looks all right.
It's okay.
Yeah.
How do I look, good people? I want to make sure that you guys can see me clearly. I kind of put the Chromebook, as Hayat said, into
yoga mode,
and it's a little bit different. But you guys aren't commenting like you often do. What's up? Does no one have anything to say? Hi, Melissa. Hi, Quentin Blakes. Oh, okay. Hayat writes, new article from Reuters, America's poor becoming more destitute under Trump. UN experts say. I agree with that. I think that is something contrary to what Trump was saying, even as recently as this morning, where he was trumpeting his own economic abilities and saying that the economy is doing better than ever in the history of the economy. Sorry?
Tooting his own horn.
Yeah, does he do that from time to time? Wow. Well, this guy was tooting his own horn, as Joe Swift says, and telling us how great the economy is, how unemployment is down because of him, and how the economy is booming and America is respected once again, whatever that means. So while he was tooting that horn, he was basically contradicting what Hayat just said, and of course what the Reuters America's the UN expert has said in the Reuters magazine, that America's poor are becoming more destitute under Trump and less prosperous under Trump. So I guess only the people who are in the top 1% is who Trump is talking about having done well for. What I do, Joe? It's looking at the camera back there. It's facing the back.
It didn't flip over.
You got to do it again, you think?
Yeah.
There it is. I won't do that anymore. Sorry, folks. That's
Is
me.
it too low? You wanna?
Yeah, bring it up some. That's me doing my own engineering. And of course, whenever I do my own engineering, you will know it. Because things like that will happen. You know, ask me about the law. Ask me about almost anything under the sun. But do not ask me about this Chromebook. Is that good, Joe? Pauline, you okay? What's going on over there? How'd you get over there? We brought you some donuts and stuff too.
I know, I see.
So just enjoy those. Oh, okay. You don't need it, but go ahead. Anyway, I'm back. We have no comments today. Well, guys, we're gonna have to cut it short if we're not gonna have any interaction, right? You see any comments coming up? Am I seeing comments?
I don't know if you got this already.
Have friends who should see this video. Share it with them so they can watch too. Who sent that? I sent the link also. Oh, thank you, Hayat. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm seeing that on here. Yeah, good. No, that's a good cross check. Good. All right. Well, that's just it. So we are going to bring in the lovely Pauline Swift. She's going to speak about the issue of Roseanne. Since you guys don't have any legal questions or legal issues, I definitely appreciate all who have checked in so far. I will be back momentarily, and I will let Ms. Pauline Swift come in from Our World magazine. Come on in, Pauline. You are familiar with our audience. Feel free to speak.
Hi, it's Pauline Swift from Our World magazine. Wanting to discuss certain things with you. You know, I've been in the business for like 30-something years, and I'm curious about all these women now coming out about sexual abuse in the workplace. Why that is something new. That's been going on for ages. I'm not saying it's something to be it's acceptable or should be acceptable, but I'm just kind of curious as to why you think all these women are coming out. Roseanne Barr now is coming out about, saying something that she wasn't supposed to say on the radio or TV, and but everybody has a right to feel the way they feel. It's just that it seems like all of a sudden everybody is racism. Everybody's coming out saying something that they're not supposed to say or doing something they're not supposed to do. And I'm just curious, when did this all happen? And it's been going on for years. As I said, I worked in the media business for a long, long time. And, it's like the casting couch, for a lot of women. It's nothing new. So why is it seems like it's something new? Why is racism something new with Roseanne Barr? She was always that way. Why are people surprised for something like this to have happened? Comment. Tell me what you feel. I'm really curious. Years ago, I'm not going to mention where I was working or where I was doing my internship, but I was sexually harassed for years at a particular hotel that I worked in, and I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave the job. I had a child. I had bills to pay, and there was nowhere for me to run. There was no platform. I even went to personnel, and the lady that was head of personnel said to me, "It's in your best interest," she said. I'll never forget these words, "for you to just continue working, don't make no waves." And I was outraged. I was like, oh my God, I can't take it. I need this job. I do not like the sexual harassment. So at the time, I had spoken to my boyfriend about what I was going through, because it was totally unbearable. So he started picking me up at work. And most people, realized then that I had, quote unquote, a boyfriend. And he sort of backed down. But we got married, and I was pregnant, working on the job, and I was placed at a door wherein nobody could see me, and this was the continuation of the sexual harassment. Please call in at 646-419-5222 if you have any comments. Again, it's 646-419-5222. Pauline Swift here to receive your calls. Anybody is talking about, and then that was just one incident. And then again, I was at another job, but I was doing an internship. And the owner of the radio station became very sexually inappropriated with me by jumping up and grabbing my breasts and saying, "Are they for real?" And I was like, "Oh my God, this is the owner of the radio station that I want to work for. What do I do? Where do I go? Do I go along with the program or what? Am I going to get this job because I'm an intern? What's going to happen?"
So, Pauline, if I may ask a question, can I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
If I may, don't go too far. Don't go off the set. If I may ask a question, I'd like to know. It's not just in Hollywood where this type of behavior goes on.
No, this goes on in all
walks of life,
all different jobs. If you have a person, or it could be man or woman, that is in a position
of power,
they can, enforce what they want upon you sexually.
Is that why in, for example, the military or even in the fire or police departments around the country, they tell superior officers that you can't date or have personal relationship with the subordinate officers?
Yes, that's one of the reasons why, because it creates a lot of problems, and a lot of it is not warranted as far as you're forcing yourself upon another human being. And I feel like you should know when somebody likes you or somebody's attracted to you. I don't feel all the things that happen in the workplace should be forced upon. You should sit back. Okay, if you like a young lady, you see the young lady, you like her, hey, what's wrong with saying, you're a nice young lady, let's go out, let's have breakfast, let's have lunch, let's have dinner, blah, blah, blah. If she feels the same way about you, it's going to be reciprocated. You do not need to, as a boss or as a director, to force yourself upon somebody. But it's about power.
So in other words, they use their positions, whether it's a man or a woman, in a position of power to say, basically, we dangle this carrot, a job.
Yes.
You're a Hollywood actress. You want to become a star. You want to get a role in this movie. You want to get a record deal, whatever. We're going to dangle this carrot. And if you please me, then I will push that along and help you get to your goal.
Yes. Again, that is something that's been going on since the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Now we're in the 2000s. It's been going on. It's just now people are talking about it.
I see. And people are now being held accountable for it?
That's the exact word. They're held accountable these days.
Okay.
And
so when you see these so-called powerful Hollywood or business men, in this case, in these cases lately, come tumbling down. For example, Harvey Weinstein was indicted last week. He was arrested first, and then subsequent, I think Thursday, an indictment came down. And he is now facing decades of prison time if convicted of one of several serious allegations in this in the indictment.
True, correct.
All based on his position and his position in Hollywood and vis-a-vis the Hollywood starlets and actresses who came his way.
And you know something too, women today look at things differently. You put up with a lot of stuff in years ago.
Gail Margaret King just checked in.
Okay.
Hi, GMK. Very nice. I know you were busy today, so you took some time from your very busy schedule to join us. Thank you. Gail has a show. She's based in Nassau County, New York, Long Island, and she has a very popular show, audio and visual show as well.
Oh,
so at some point we'd like to get her in here. But hi, Gail. Hi, Tim Ham.
Does she think about what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, give us some comments, Gail. All of you. I would like all of the listeners to give us some comments. Let us know what you thought about what this conversation currently is, or anything that we previously discussed on this show today or in the past. We have Hank West out of New Jersey. Hank West from NYU. Big Bank Hank checking in. How are you, Hank? And we also have Lyons Stephanie. I guess that's backwards. It's probably Stephanie Lyons. But thank you for joining in. Hassan just walked in. Assalamu alaikum, Hassan. How are you, brother? Welcome into the fold. He's over at Hyatt's Place of Business. So thank you. Hope you guys check in. What are your comments? What are your reactions? What do you have to say about what Ms. Pauline Swift of Our World Magazine just got finished discussing, and what we're in the midst of discussing as well? Or anything else that you heard on your program, Your Hour of Power, today with your host, Stephen G. James. I'm very pleased to have this special guest, Ms. Pauline Swift, with us, but I want to also acknowledge you guys, and I want to hear what your views are. What are your opinions? So, háblame, pero háblame claro. Yo tengo gente llamando y juntando con nosotros de diferentes países en todo el mundo. So, cualquier cosa, tú puedes llamarme, hablarme en inglés o español. Si para llamar a 646-419-5222. 646, código 419-5222. Llámame cualquier quiera, ¿ok? Cualquier cosa tú puedes llamar. Mi oficina, este programa es de ustedes. Esa es tuya. También, if you want to call, it's 646-419-5222. 646-419-5222. Hassan, thank you for checking in, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
I want to say something. I want to get back to Roseanne Barr. This is not something new that she has been doing. She's been doing it behind closed doors, I should say. It's just that she said something on Twitter and it went viral, and I was looking at what she said, and she had mentioned initials. She didn't come right out and say the person's name. So one of my things is, how did everybody know she was talking about that particular person? Because initials was used. Sometimes I feel the media does things they put stuff out there because there's other stuff that's happening in the world that
it's a diversion.
There's a distraction on what's going on. Everything now, as I said earlier, has been happening 20, 30, 40 years ago. It's not something new. It is something new that we're able to get on the different platforms such as Twitter. We can go on Facebook. We can go on Instagram. We have all different avenues of YouTube. Yes, definitely YouTube. And discuss certain things. So now I feel that people... And
you have your hour of power, the hour of power. We can talk about it, tell about it, and let it all out. Talk to me.
And a lot of things that's happening is money now is involved. It's not just, somebody losing their job or being brought down. They're being sued. Money's coming out of this. So a lot of times, you'll see one person make a comment, and then you'll see 10 others afterward follow. Oh, it happened to me. Oh, it happened to me. Yes, it happened. He did that, or she did that. She did that.
Sort of like when Donald Trump was running for president.
Yes, exactly.
Where one woman stepped up and made a comment that he did something inappropriate to her, and then there was the floodgates. 10, 20 women stepped up by the time the primaries came around.
So the point of it is that I'm trying to make, why when people are in certain positions, all of a sudden things come to light when they've been going on with that person for years and years. A lot of times, majority of times, the person, whether they're male or female, been doing what they've been doing for years. They just don't start overnight and have that flaw in them.
And that's why there tends to be a floodgate of people once the gates are open.
Yes.
Then you find that there are people who didn't come forward because they felt they were alone, isolated, and may not be believed.
Exactly.
So hence the Me Too movement.
Yes. So men, women, you're all now on the side of how women felt years ago. Now men are also being harassed on the job by men and by women.
Yes.
The tables have turned. It was just women being harassed. Now it's everybody. So now it's
anyone can be a victim of
harassment,
sexual harassment,
yes,
and power harassment.
Yes, I have a friend of mine that worked at a.
Can I just acknowledge Stephanie Ray?
Yes,
checked
sure.
in. Hi, Steph. Stephanie Ray checked in. I appreciate you, Stephanie. I want you to, if you can, join the conversation. Be heard. Let's know your comments on what you're hearing and what you may have heard earlier from during this broadcast. This is your hour of power. This is your hour to be heard. This is everyone's time to let your voice count. Your hour of power with attorney Stephen G. James, your host.
And our number here is 646-419-5252. I have a friend for like 40-something years. And maybe 30 years ago, my friend came to me and said to me, I'm being harassed sexually by the owner's daughter. And I laughed, because I knew that the owner's daughter was very attractive. And I said to him, so what's the problem? I thought at the time that he was telling me this, he was trying to, make himself be flattered. So-and-so is, pursuing me and I'm not interested. So I didn't really take him seriously, But as the years went by, he brought a lawsuit against the young lady. And it was made public. It was on the New York Times, newspapers, all over the internet. If you want to do your research, I won't mention the names of the parties, but he actually brought a lawsuit against this woman for sexual harassment, and she was the owner's daughter of the radio station that he worked for, and it became a very big lawsuit. And I said to him, I thought, you were joking. And he said, no, I'm not joking. She's making my life miserable. I'm not interested in her, but I need my job. So it goes both ways, people. So men get sexually harassed just as well as women.
That is such a true statement, sad as it may be. And I know you've learned since then that when you hear these type of complaints and concerns, that they're not to be laughed off.
No, they're not supposed to be
that they have the same validity
No.
as if a child came to you and said that there was an adult sexually abusing or harassing them. Men can be abused and harassed. It's not like men always welcome that unwelcome behavior.
That is so true, Stephen, because at the time that the story was told to me, you're talking about 30-something years ago.
Right.
But when he told me, I was like, why are you not be flattered? Why don't you think that that's a great thing? She's really pretty. Why do you feel that you're being sexually harassed? That was my point of view.
Yeah, and that was the time. And in the times of the period that we lived in, that might have been a common mentality for men and women.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I was like, wow. Well, why don't you just jump on it?
Right. Here's your opportunity. Maybe he wasn't interested.
And
maybe he was in a relationship. Maybe he wasn't attracted to her or women. Or maybe it could be a number of reasons.
It was a number of reasons.
None of it is her right to abuse him.
Right.
Can I just say that we have Charwayne Glasgow checking in. I think she knows the lovely Miss Swift. She says, hey, it's DJ Charwayne Glasgow in the house.
Hi, how are you?
Checking in, saying, hey, it's Mama Swift.
Yes, it is Mama Swift.
Waxing eloquent, dropping science, letting them have it between the eyes.
Oh, wow.
Hit them up, Mama Swift. Talk to them.
Anything that you want to add? Anything you want to ask me?
DJ Charwayne.
Charwayne.
We have Joseph Swift saying, yeah, it's her on the show. Oh, you're talking back to Charwayne. Okay. But does anyone have any legal issues? Anything juicy going on that we need to talk about? Or maybe there's some questions that you have that we can help enlighten the entire audience, the entire family of our show, Your Hour of Power With. I'm your attorney and your host, Attorney Stephen G. James, and I am here broadcasting live from our New York City offices, and we are here for you, for your hour of power. This broadcast is worldwide, heard everywhere the internet goes, which excludes China, of course. But you can hear us all over the planet, and we have friends from everywhere. So join in from wherever you are, drop science, and pick up some knowledge.
Stephen, I wanted to ask you about what I'm talking about. If a man came to you and, said, well, being that you're an attorney, I'm being sexually harassed by my employer, or what should I do? What would you say back to them?
Well, firstly, and you were very specific, a man came regarding sexual harassment by an employer. That's the key. Yeah. Now, there are steps to take when it's an employer-employee relationship. If a man or woman, doesn't really matter, the sex of the harasser, is harassing a subordinate, an employee, the steps usually are, if it's a structure with human rights, a human rights division within the job, you go to the human rights department of the job, and you seek recourse there. If you get no recourse, or you're not believed, or nothing happens, then you can go to the EEOC, which is the federal Human Rights Commission, basically. Okay. And most states have their own state-level Human Rights Commission. You can go either to the state human rights or to the federal EEOC, which means Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. That's the federal government, and report your claim there. And then they will do what they call an investigation. They will send out an investigator. They'll make calls. They'll write letters. They'll get personnel files. They'll do interviews. They will investigate whether it's the EEOC on the federal level or the Human Rights Commission on the state level. And the job is now on notice. And so is that harasser, or that alleged harasser.
But what happens, Stephen, is most of the time a person is afraid.
Well, I'm telling you what I would tell them.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with their fear. I'm telling them what I would tell them, and then we'll go back to their fear. Then once the investigation is completed and you get what they call a founding or a right to sue, because they found that there is a legitimate claim here, then you come back to someone like myself, and with the right to sue letter, then we can go into federal court or state court, depending on which agency you went through, whether it's federal or state agency. I just described it too. And we go to court with that, but you have to have a right to sue letter after the government investigates, whether it's the Human Rights Commission on the state level or the EEOC on the federal level. Excellent question.
Okay. Well, I know people want to know what are the steps that they can
Those
take.
are the steps that you can take. Those are the steps that you almost must take when it's an employer harassing an employee.
But when you take those steps, won't it get out?
Well, this is what I think you were getting at before I completed my statement. If an employee is afraid that he or she or they will be retaliated against, then what we do, we'll write the letter to the job. If the employer that's harassing is the only, let's say it's a sole employer, we write a letter to the investigator for the EEOC or to the Human Rights Commission, stating that this employee has this complaint going, and we are on alert for any retaliatory measures, being laid off, being harassed in other ways. In other words, they're like trying to get you out the door. They're starting to make you, a lot of write-ups, negative commentary on your performances, etc. So we put the investigating agency on alert with the legal letter from our office, letting them know that there is a potential for abuse here, and that the employee fears retaliation from the employer, and that'll put the employer on notice that employee is not to be. They're not going to fire that person, not during this process.
All right, very good information to know, Stephen. I know a lot of men and women have these issues. Sometimes your job is the only thing that's keeping you going, and you are afraid to come forward. But sometimes you have to do what you got to do.
Yes, I mean, and nowadays, now that victims of this sort of behavior are getting more traction, there's more of a credibility, well, should I say a less of an incredibility stance that people or society has taken against people making such allegations. There's more of an even keel. There's an even more even playing field where those concerns and those issues can be addressed more readily. So people, I think, are getting a little bit more brave and determined not to just be a victim in these instances. That's why you're hearing about all these cases coming up now, because the traction is being gained and the bravery is being gained from what others are seeing, even with other cases that are unrelated to their own, and they get strength from that. Again, the Me Too movement was born out of that. That is where the saying comes from. Well, it happened to me too.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it didn't happen to me. Ours worked for the greatest employer on the planet, Attorney Stephen G. James. But that's where the Me Too movement comes from. I love those questions. Keep them coming. This one comes live and direct from Miss Pauline Swift from Our World magazine. But you too can check in. I see we have Charwayne Glasgow laughing out loud. He's just listening. Can you give us a little background music? Sorry, going back to my old DJ days. But anyway, yeah, employers bullying employees goes on a lot at jobs. That's what Charwayne Glasgow is saying. Is that so? Well, those folks who are being bullied by employers, come see me. Those folks who are being bullied by landlords.
That's true. That's another subject.
Yes, there are people out there being bullied by landlords because in New York City, where we all live, housing is tight and very expensive.
True.
If you don't own your own home, you're almost at the mercy of certain landlords to get into certain housing. So sometimes there are landlords out there abusing that position for favors against gorgeous women like Miss Swift, who come in looking for housing.
That's
but of
true.
course, they won't mess with her because she knows me. Number one, she ain't down with OPP because she knows me. Number two, she's a powerful businesswoman, but there are vulnerable women out there who are young and inexperienced and just don't know what they should or should not do or what people can and cannot do to them. So you have to be aware that that occurs even in housing.
Well, you know something too, now that you mentioned housing, I have known a few people that has happened to.
No kidding.
Yes.
Can you tell our listeners at least a little bit about it without going into their personal?
Well, I have known somebody that actually is a homeowner. They're into real estate. They own quite a few homes. And they have tenants that are women. And I've heard out of their mouth, oh, she's beautiful. They want to get together with the person. And I'm like, this is so unprofessional. This is so unethical. You're a landlord. You just take the rent and that's it.
And keep it business.
Right. And because you're putting somebody else, especially a woman, in a position of, I'm going to lose my home.
Right.
My children won't have a place to go.
There's the power.
And that's that right there.
Again, it's not necessarily, the Hollywood wannabe starlet who wants to get that role in that career-making movie, in a movie producer or director, or in the case of Weinstein, studio owner.
Ownership.
It's also anyone who, is in any position of power, like a landlord.
Yes.
In a city like this where housing is very, very tight and the better housing is even tighter.
Yeah. And
people may take that as a way to kind of get self-gratification from that position.
It's very true because I remember I want to say 37 years ago, I lived in the Bronx. And the building that I was living in was owned by a gentleman. And he used to come around 10 o'clock at night to collect his rent. And I remember saying to myself, why are you coming at 10 o'clock at night? I'm pregnant. I have on my bathrobe. It made me feel uncomfortable. You have all the hours during the day from 9 in the morning, from 9 to 5, business hours. This is about business. This is about collecting your rent. Why are you coming at 10 o'clock at night?
And what was the answer to that? I mean,
I left. To be honest,
gotcha.
I could not deal with it. I left. So another opportunity came up, and I moved someplace else.
Gotcha.
But I'm sure I'm not the only one that has happened to.
And that's so unfortunate. But maybe that's why you were thinking that it primarily and almost solely happens to the female. But there are women I've heard, being in this business for over 31 years, I've seen and heard a lot of stories and situations, and I've had men actually come in and who didn't want to be bothered, who weren't flattered by the so-called good-looking woman, who thought because she's a good-looking woman and considered so by many, any man is going to be at her beck and call. Well, that's not necessarily so.
True.
And I've had cases where we've had to go after the so-called cutie pie woman that everybody wants, and she thinks, in her position of power, she could have any man, and it wasn't welcome overtures. So it goes both ways and all ways.
Yes. Stephan, I thank you for having me on talking about these issues. They're not just issues, but they are things that really happen. And they really happen to real people and ordinary people.
Well, I thank you for checking in and coming in and taking the time to share that with our audience. Your hour of power this is your hour of power as well. You're welcome here anytime. I thank you. You always have good, provocative issues to discuss and to bring to the attention of our audience and to the people around the world. Sure. Pauline Swift is a very, very intelligent, strong woman, and she definitely always has a lot to bring to the table. So I welcome you anytime.
Yeah, I would like you all to call in. I'm going to be, here most Saturdays, not every Saturday, but I will be here a lot on Saturdays. And if you want to call in and ask me anything, please feel free to.
And maybe there are people who even want to know about what you do in terms of how they can get into publications or reporting.
Most definitely.
Like I encourage people to talk about everything.
Everything.
We don't limit anything and we don't exclude anyone or anything from the conversation. This is an international broadcast heard worldwide, and there are a lot of issues that people have on their hearts and on their minds, and this is your time to get those aired and to be heard. Don't be shy. We have Charwayne Glasgow, who writes, "People are not schooled on employees' rights." Well, they get schooled on employees' rights here, Mr. Glasgow. Anytime anybody has a question here about rights, they're going to get schooled. That's what we're here for. That's why we put this show together, and that's why we bring people like your dear friend, Mama Swift, to the table, as you call her. So the number to call again is
646-419-5222.
And in Espanol?
Oh, well, I'll do that.
Well, we have people all over the world. In Espanol, 646-419-5222. 646-419-5222. Llámame. Estoy aquí para ti.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you.
All right.
And please be well. We'll see you again soon.
So,
thank you so much, Pauline Swift. Our World, y'all, keep that in mind, that Our World is a great publication, and I encourage all of you to follow the articles. I write a bi-weekly column in that magazine, and I would encourage you not only to read what I write, but also to follow the other articles and interesting stories that are written and reported on by Pauline and other writers for the magazine. Okay? That's Our World magazine. Do you guys have a website?
OurWorldMedia.com.
Oh, you can also get some of the articles and listen in and get some of the information from Our World by going to www.ourworldmedia.com. Absolutely. Any more comments, guys? Joe, how are we doing with the comments? Am I the only one that's not seeing them, or are these the only one?
Those are the only ones that I've seen.
No kidding. Who else is checking in? Who is among us that is checking in to see what's going on? And did we get anything more on the gator babies that I talked about last week? I went into deep today, the Mississippi Punch Bowl. I hope you guys are informed enough that you can pass that information on to others to know that we had we had concentration camps right here in the United States after the Civil War, where thousands, literally, of freed black slaves were put in concentration camps and summarily murdered. Most were starved to death. The women and the children were simply starved to death in this pit that they had developed for them. And the men who were strong enough and able-bodied were put back into slavery. This happened after the so-called ending of slavery, right here in America, what some call the greatest country on the planet. Anywho, can I get some more on the Niobium Holocaust from 1904 to 1910, Joe? While Joe is looking up the Niobium Holocaust, which I think I asked you guys to be prepared to talk about today. Namibian.
How do you spell it?
Oh, NAM for everyone. NAMIBIAN, Namibian Holocaust, HOLOCAUST. And that occurred in Namibia, a country in Africa, from 1904 to 1910 of record. I'm sure it went on long after that because the devil never gives up so easily. But the point is that hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Namibians were killed during this raid on their land after welcoming these Germans onto their land, not realizing that they were bringing the devil into their house. And they paid the price for that. So that also served as a precursor to what we all know now as the Jewish Holocaust under the Nazi Third Reich in Germany, in Nazi Germany in the 1930s. But had the world taken notice and taken action during the Second Reich's Namibian Holocaust, which occurred in 1904, maybe we wouldn't have had a Jewish Holocaust. Think about that. If the world had taken action when Rodney King was brutally beaten and killed by, not killed, but basically his life was changed forever until ultimately he died by those cops in the early 1990s in Los Angeles, Simi Valley, maybe we wouldn't have had a Trayvon Martin, a Sandra Bland, Castillo in Minnesota, Philandro Castillo in Minnesota, or who's the gentleman in Staten Island? Eric Garner. You know, maybe we wouldn't have had all these killings if action had been taken, appropriate action, back in 1992 when Rodney King was brutally beaten. So think about these things, and you see how they're all connected. The first Holocaust, horrifying secrets of Germany's earliest genocide, was inside Africa's quote-unquote forbidden zone. See, folks, I'm not making this stuff up. This is real. And the fact that you don't hear it or see it on CNN just tells you that they don't give a damn, or they don't want you to know about it. But I talk about the things that they don't want you to know. That's why this is your hour of power, empowering your mind and giving power back to the people. That's what we do on this show.
Scroll down, there's the full article.
This must be the most godforsaken place on earth. I'm standing on a dusty desert road in a desolate country on the southwest coast of Africa. In front of me is an unspoken border. Summoning the courage, I prepare to step across. For the past 100 years, this simple act would have gotten me arrested, beaten, or shot. Because the region I am about to enter is the Sperrgebiet, or that's German, or the Forbidden Zone. A place whose savage emptiness conceals the terrible secrets of a Nazi past, adorned with the tainted beauty of blood diamonds. Well, this is why they came there. I pause. A linear falcon wheels above me in the silence of the African wilderness. Then I walk into the unknown. This is a 20,000 square kilometer region of southwest Namibia. It has been closed to travelers since the 1900s to protect the diamond industry from smugglers. For that reason, the region is known as Diamond Zone 1, along with its African name, Sperrgebiet. The paranoia of the government is understandable. Diamonds mined in this corner of Namibia provide 80% of the nation's income. And yet, yesterday, they officially became the newest and perhaps most amazing national park in the world, though it will be years before a proper infrastructure is developed and decades, if ever, before it receives any visitors. It will always be remote. Why is it so? Two reasons: ecology and history. And they are cruelly intertwined. The ecology is easily described because of its forbidden status. This is one of the most unspoiled tracts of land in the wildest continent on earth, Africa. Much of it is a succulent desert where the bare hot rocks are watered by dense fogs drifting over from the icy South Atlantic. Similarly, bizarre insects, plants, and reptiles all thrive in the harsh environment. Then there are the real stars, the wild horses of Namib. Remarkably, equines that wander between the dreamy mountains that rise with eerie abruptness from the yellow dust. And as I travel inland, I spot my first horse. Another suggestion is that there were horses that escaped from British Army shipwrecks on the Skeleton Coast. The boats foundered, but the horses swam ashore. The most likely idea is that they are the last remnants of the Schutzreich. The German colonial army once reigned supreme over this Southwest African country, which was defeated by the South African forces of the British Empire in 1915. Now they are the only wild desert horses in the world, slowly evolving into a new species specially adapted to dryness. It is here that the dark heart of this benighted land is to be found. It is probably the most restricted city in the free world. Only those in the diamond trade are allowed in. This in turn means its population is 99% male. Well, there you have it, folks. That's the reason why these people came in and basically eradicated or murdered from existence the people that they encountered in Namibia in 1904, and did so over the 6 years up until about 1910, when they finally either killed everyone or had the remaining people who survived that Holocaust enslaved. This was the preamble to the Holocaust that occurred in Germany in the 1930s. Anything to add, good people? Anything to discuss? We have Grady Master Stylist joining us. Hi, Grady Master Stylist. Welcome. We have J Mac in the house. Jay, how are you? I was on your site earlier today. Very lovely. I think you were having graduation celebration for a graduate in the family. Very, very lucky, and congratulations to you and your family, J Mac. Would anyone like to add anything to what we've been talking about so far? Next week, we'll be talking about Black Israelites, the 12 tribes of Jacob, maybe a little bit about Kanye West. We'll also touch on squatters' rights in a home where the bank comes in through foreclosure, removes the existing family, the mortgagor, those who are paying the mortgage, and if they've fallen behind or whatever, the bank will remove them through a foreclosure process, and then the house sits empty. And while the house sits empty, you may get squatters. And those squatters, after 30 days in New York, at least, in certain states and cities, it might be more or less time, but generally in New York, it's 30 days. You have to actually go through an eviction process to get them out. And in many instances, they end up having more rights than the actual homeowners who were put out in foreclosure. So we'll talk about that more next week. But does anyone have any questions about what we've discussed today, and or any answers? Well, if the answer is no, good people, then we are going to wind it up and lock it down. And thank you all for your participation. And till we meet again on the Hour of Power, we're going to be signing off. I will like to tell you that next week, June 9th, we will not be on air, as I will be traveling doing a case out of state, and chances are very good that we will not be able to come to you until the weekend after. Joe, next Saturday is June 9th, so the Saturday after that is June 16th. So we'll probably see you around the 16th. And until then, I want to say thank you. Hallelujah. Thank you for joining us. I want to say thank you to everyone who checked in. Thank you to the lovely Miss Pauline Swift for coming in today. We have our man Joe Swift in the house, LL Cool Joe on the engineering tasks. And I'm your host, as always, Attorney at Law Stephen G. James. And you can reach us here. We are on air. Again, 646-419-5222. And I appreciate everyone. Thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Tell all your friends that the Hour of Power is here every Saturday. So God bless. Be well. Talk to you.